This is a broadcast of SmallCapVoice.com, a financial communications and investor relations firm. SmallCapVoice.com receives payment for investor relations and financial consulting services that it provides to its clients. You should assume that officers, directors, and employees of SmallCapVoice.com or financial analysts mentioned and their families hold a position and intend to trade in these securities for their own accounts. This is not an offer or recommendation to buy or sell securities. Information in this broadcast is presented solely for informative purposes and is not intended to be, nor should it be construed as, investment advice. As in all investments, an investment in the featured company carries an investment risk. Listeners should review the company thoroughly with a registered investment advisor or registered stockbroker. This broadcast does not purport to be a complete study of the featured company or other companies mentioned. Information used and statements of fact have been obtained from the featured company and other sources but not verified nor guaranteed by SmallCapVoice.com as to completeness or accuracy. Such information is subject to change without notice.
You're wired in. SmallCapVoice.com. Following is a presentation of SmallCapVoice.com, today's leader in investor relations, capital formation, and retail support. Now, with your online business briefing, SmallCapVoice.com's Stuart T. Smith.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us here once again at SmallCapVoice.com. And as you just heard, I'm your host, Stuart Smith. And we're joined today once again by PositiveID Corporation. They're traded on the over-the-counter bulletin board exchange under the ticker symbol PSID. Now, because of a recent reverse split for the next couple of weeks, that ticker symbol is going to be PSID. And we're joined once again by the Chief Executive Officer of the company, Mr. Bill Caragol. Bill, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Stuart. Thank you.
Well, thank you once again for stopping by here at SmallCapVoice.com and allowing us the time to ask you a few questions about the company. Now, it's been a very active year. We just touched upon the reverse split for the company, but for those who may be very new to this story, people just finding out about your company, PositiveID Corporation, if you would, let's go over the business model and market one more time for them.
Sure, Stuart. The company is focused on its molecular diagnostic platform. That comes in really comes from two different directions. One is on the detection side, which is a product that we call M-band, which stands for Microfluidic Bioagent Network Detection System. This is a system that was designed specifically to be part of the BioWatch Generation 3 procurement currently being started at Department of Homeland Security. This technology was developed over the course of 6+ years under contract with the Department of Homeland Security, for which over $30 million of funding came in order to fund the development of this product. And I would direct everybody to either pictures on our website or a white paper that we recently published to see a little bit more detail on that product and a little bit more of the history. Coming out of that development, we also, on a unique set of intellectual property, very much driven by the know-how of developing that system, are developing a diagnostic platform for clinical tests of biological samples to improve on time to test in clinical settings that we call Dragonfly. And very excitingly, just this week, we announced the launch of development of our Firefly product, which is going to be a handheld point-of-need device to be able to allow testing of biological samples at the point of need out in the field, as opposed to collecting samples and bringing them back to the clinic for testing. So that's who we are, and those are the three important products under development that we're currently working on.
Very good. Now that website, listeners, for you to follow along is PositiveIDcorp.com. Well, let's talk a little bit about the reverse split that I mentioned earlier. Bill, what's your take on the reverse split? Will it benefit the company as it looks to capitalize on some of the goals you've highlighted for us?
I think so, Stuart. What I would say is that if you look at where we've been over the course of the past 12 to 18 months, we've taken our company and focused it on our molecular diagnostic platform. Those are the detection and diagnostic products that I mentioned before, M-band, Dragonfly, and Firefly. At the same time, We've either exited or streamlined all non-core activities and non-core products from our legacy healthcare business. And in doing so, we have drastically reduced our burn. All of that led to a very successful license and teaming agreement that we signed with the Boeing company in December of 2012, which importantly brought in $2.5 million of capital under the license fee arrangement of that agreement, as well as giving us the exclusive position to the monthly reagent and assay replacements that will be sold to accompany these M-band devices when ultimately they are procured. So this was a very exciting culmination to 2012. And as we move into 2013 and look at the opportunity that we have in front of us with the BioWatch program, as well as the launching of the Firefly development, we took a look at our cap table, and it was pretty obvious that it was the appropriate time to do a reverse split. At the end of the split, puts us with approximately 15 million shares outstanding, and we believe positions us well for all of the important strategic initiatives that are in front of us in 2013 and beyond as we look to bring these products through the development cycle, and in the case of M-band, bring them to market over the course of the next couple of years.
Well, Bill, you touched on it earlier, but let's go a little bit deeper in the status of the Department of Homeland Security's BioWatch Generation 3 program. A lot of our listeners may not be familiar with the procurement process and how Homeland Security works. Just the fact that you're able to submit is an awesome validation for you and your company. Can we get a little bit more detail into that?
Oh, sure, Stuart. And it is it is sometimes a rather tough process to navigate. But what I would say is, based on what the Department of Homeland Security has announced, which has not been updated in probably a couple months, or at this point a few months, back to the January-February time frame, is that they anticipate being in a position to put out their final RFP. They put out a draft RFP, request for proposal, in the January time frame, and announced their intention to move to a final RFP and then ultimately the award of a contract in the form of what they called a Stage 1, which is going to be in a testing and evaluation phase of BioWatch Generation 3 with the intention of awarding at least one and up to three awards to different contractors or contract teams. And going back to what I previously stated, we are now, in our license and teaming agreement, we're part of the Boeing team. So it's our M-band technology that will be bid as their solution to the BioWatch Generation 3 opportunity. And this Stage 1 contract, based on the last Department of Homeland Security announcement, was intended to be awarded during 2013. So if you've followed us or if you've known us for any period of time, you will know that there have been a number of slides in the schedule, and we're unable to predict, because it is the federal government, how those slides may or may not occur. But based on all of the activity, we're optimistic that even if it does slide another quarter, we're getting pretty close to being, if you will, at the market and with the ability to pitch our technology with our very strong and important partner.
Well, speaking of those strong and important partners, I want to go all the way back to a press release, listeners, for you. If you're new to this company, go back to March 12th, 2013. Use that ticker symbol again, PSID, and for the time being, it's PSIDD. Talks a lot about the 2012 highlights, as well as some of the 2013 goals for the company. Now, you've had some strong partners in the past. Any partnership announcements that we should be looking out for here in 2013?
Well, as I look forward over 2013, and again focus back on our exciting market development and product development strategies focused on the M-band for BioWatch and Firefly, it is our target and goal to continue to expand the breadth of our and depth of our partnerships. First, on the M-band side, that will be driven with our team led by Boeing, which will bring in additional strong partners to strengthen that team as it moves forward for the projected $3.1 billion BioWatch targeted contract size. So that by its very size draws a lot of important attention amongst potential partner groups in the DC Beltway area. And then when we talk about Firefly, we are speaking with a number of potential partners, and there the partnership, think about it a bit differently. As opposed to going to market with a product, we're looking for a development partner, which will typically be a government R&D arm who will help us with some of the financial and market assistance of defining the product and bringing it to the point of commercialization. The model I would refer to is the one that we used to develop M-Band, which I described before was developed under Department of Homeland Security contract, over $30 million of funding. That was a development done almost from scratch. So the important thing to think about with Firefly is it's not a 6-year development. It's a 1 and 2 year in a two-step process development, and the need for capital to finish that is far, far lower and will be accomplished, as I stated, in a far shorter period of time.
Well, we all know that in the recent news we've had some bio-threat events here in the United States involving our president as well as members of our Senate. How does the recent bio-threats in the United States and abroad highlight the need for this technology that's being developed by you folks there at PSIDD?
Stuart, when I think about that question, it goes to, I think, a very important point, was that the more things change, the more they stay the same. And when there is something horrible that happens and a focus on security, whether it be chemical threats, bio threats, or other acts of terrorism, what I would go back to is we need to consistently, day in and day out, think about our national security and our homeland security. When you read about whatever the event of the day is, whether it's news of bio and chem abilities in North Korea, whether it's the situation in Syria, or whether it's the horrible situation that occurred both in Boston as well as the Ricin letters that was unrelated but followed shortly thereafter. I think what it goes to do is to emphasize and stress that we need to maintain our vigilance, and we can never be in a position to stop innovating and looking for ways to protect ourselves against the type of people who would take those type of actions. So that's what we do, and the group that is working on these problems that I described have been doing so for a long period of time, and we're just going to keep at it because that's what this team does and has done well.
Well, thanks for that, Bill. Now, let's talk a little bit about the products and how they differentiate from each other. How is Firefly different from Dragonfly?
The primary difference, and I would direct people to the press release we put out earlier this week, as we put a photograph of a demonstration unit that we've put together to demonstrate the size, and that gets to, it's a size difference. This is a point of need analysis device. It's going to enable biological tests to be performed in the field. So what does that mean? As opposed to collecting a sample, putting it on a swab, putting it in a tube, taking it back to a lab, or sending it into a lab waiting for a test, you're going to be able to take the test, the swab, take a blood sample, take whatever sample you're going to in the field, out in an agricultural setting, with livestock. You're going to be able to use it in very remote places like Africa, where you're not going to have a convenient clinical setting, and be able to process in a very fast time frame, 15 to 30 minutes, biological samples, and to be able to test them with single-use cartridges that have the specific assay in them that you're looking to test. So it really provides a platform that can be developed on, because the assays can be developed for any biological test. It will use a real-time PCR testing within the device, and again, be able to put it at the point of need as opposed to the point of care.
Well, let's also talk about some of the development partners that you're seeking currently for Firefly.
Yes, Stuart. I would go back to one of my previous answers where I talked about our product development partnership search, which, as I stated before, we were talking to a number of different partners. And if I maybe took a different angle on it and talked about the type of partners who we would look for to develop the type of applications I just described in the What Does Firefly Do, you wouldn't be surprised to hear that it's going to be potential partners that would look like Department of Homeland Security, certain agencies within Department of Defense, Department of Agriculture, NASA. It's these type of organizations that do a lot of the advanced funding and development help to companies like ours when it comes to products like Firefly.
Well, listeners, some recent news that's really sparked this stock in the markets came out just yesterday, April 29th. PositiveID Corporation launches development of Firefly Dx to confirm biological threats in the field with minutes. You've heard Bill talk about this at length here in this audio interview. Also want to let you know that HanoverFinancialServices.com issued research and news update on PositiveID Corporation. That also out just yesterday. You can find that on the press wire as well. Well, Bill, as always, thank you so for making so much time for us here at SmallCapVoice.com, for navigating what can be difficult waters for the uninformed listener, and I think you do a great job of letting us know the potential for this company and its exciting markets with which it operates in. Thanks so much, Bill.
Stuart, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, for Bill Caragol, this is Stuart Smith saying thanks so much for listening.
SmallCapVoice.com, today's leader in investor relations, capital formation, and retail support, provides its clients with the highest level of service. Our audio interviews are disseminated to one of the largest opt-in audiences available today. How? We at SmallCapVoice.com believe in aligning and affiliating ourselves with other leaders within the investor relations community. By sharing resources, each affiliated firm is made that much stronger and each client is served that much better. Our focus is to identify and provide the very best financial services and solutions available to clients and their shareholders. For more information about our services, please call us at 512-267-2430 or visit us on the web at www.smallcapvoice.com.